I actually just wrapped up the vest and I am working at new designs for spring, and look what came in. I am actually working on designing new jacket and working on the new pattern, and I was waiting for this to come in. I was expecting the package to arrive probably next week, but it's here today, and I am actually was working on designing this and how I'm gonna use it just now. How surprising this is. Hello and welcome back to Marta from Sparta. Today's video will be slightly different. It started pretty well, but ended up in the product which I am not entirely happy about. And if you remember from my previous video, I'm gonna attach the clip right over here. I was super excited about receiving this amazing, beautiful vintage quilt in the colors which I actually always wanted. And quilts are generally, especially vintage quilts, they are super expensive, especially also in the size that it's enough to make a jacket out of it. So when I found this quilt in actually perfect colors for a very reasonable price, I was stoked. I didn't put second thought to it. I just bought it and I couldn't wait for it to come. And I was so excited to receive that quilt that I started to even design and look for the pattern before the quilt actually came. And let's listen to my opening for the video which I was actually planning to do. And when I'm looking and listening to it myself, I reflect on feelings which I had and how excited I was to make this amazing jacket. And you're gonna learn down the video that it was big failure. So let's watch a few clips. What was my thoughts when I didn't know that this project actually
the reason why
not
I'm so
gonna
nervous
work
using vintage quilt, which I found on eBay, and it's beautifully distressed and beautifully artistically used, if you know what I mean. It's not a brand new quilt, and you know, vintage quilts could be very pricey, and I was so happy to win this one for a very reasonable price because I wanted zero waste product and something which is unique, only one in the kind. And you guys, if you watch my videos, you know how much I value this type of clothing. Zero waste, recycling, reloving. This is my vibe. I totally love it. So I am very nervous because I'm afraid that if I'm gonna go with the measurements wrong, when I tend to kind of make small errors, or I will cut it wrong, well, there is no actually even bought this quilt. I already bought few sewing patterns which I thought they're gonna be perfect for this project, and then I kind of like decided which quilt I'm gonna be bidding on. And then when the quilt came in, everything changes because once I saw it in person, I touched it, I saw the colors in real life, I changed my idea. So I scroll again through my pattern folder and I found totally something else. So I settled this time, I promise you, I settled on the pattern which I want to make. I don't have a bias tape yet because I'm not sure what kind of bias tape I want to use, but let me show you this beauty. It's gorgeous. It's very pastel, spring, summery look.
Point of the video, I was still super excited and I was showing you the quilt, and I didn't realize actually how many actual holes through 3 layers of the quilt are there. Because yeah, seller disclosed on eBay that they are holes, and there is few holes, but and the all holes are through the 3 layers, but they didn't mention, first of all, how big the holes are and how many the holes in the whole quilt. Additionally to that, at this moment when I was showing you the quilt, I didn't actually even see yet how many stains are on the quilt, and like a big yellow stains, and on the other side of the quilt there was kind of like a stains which looked like mold. So I was also afraid to keep that part of the quilt, and they not necessarily line up with the holes which were going through the through the all layers of the quilt. And yes, seller mentioned in the description that there are all these damages are there, and they attach the pictures of the damages. But first of all, I think my mistake was it didn't show how many holes are there, and they were just single pictures of 2 holes. They didn't show how big their holes were, and also they didn't show how big are the mold stains or other yellow stains, because you know, on the picture when someone shows you close up of the stain, it could be easy this big or it could be easy huge, right? So they never showed the picture of the whole quilt with markings where the stains are and how often the stains are, or how close to each other they are. So that's where I was at when I was showing you that quote on the video, and I actually saw how bad the situation actually is once I line the whole quilt down and I flip it inside of top and bottom, and I said, oh bummer, this is more damaged than I thought it is, and that will be so challenging to piece it out my jacket. So I'm gonna avoid the mold stains, but I'm also gonna avoid the just total holes, and the holes were about this diameter, so pretty big. So let's see what's gonna happen next.
But also I have some ideas about how to finish the shoulders, if I want the collar on the hood, and yada yada a lot. Everything depends how much I'm gonna have left, because you know, this is 65 by 75 I believe, but also just to tell you, it has stain which I have to avoid, and it has few holes which are in here, and I think you see, and we have a hole right over here, and there is few more because it's vintage. So it's also not like I have a whole blanket which I can use. I just have to avoid this imperfection here, and there is few more. Back to square one. I just realized that instead of having Flora jacket pattern in there, I had Felicity jacket in there. So that's 2 different patterns, and back to square one. I was excited to finally cut the quilt, and I was like getting really confident about it, and I had a plan, and look at this. Back to printing, back to taping, back to cutting. I see you in an hour. Alrighty guys, 2 hours later, pattern is finally done, and I think I was so stressed about this cutting that vintage quilt that I don't know how did I mess up, but I'm glad I noticed. So I said I'm doing size medium, but that was different jacket because the other jacket was actually running small. This jacket, the Flora jacket, I'm actually gonna be doing size small because size small seems to be very big. So size small from Flora Designs seems more like on size medium, so I decided to go with size small, and she also offers like a short and long version. I'm doing the short version because the next one, which I'm gonna be doing for spring, I think I'm gonna be doing like semi-coat kind of version. Hit a little roadblock over here because before I'm gonna actually proceed even farther, I have to decide what kind of bias, what color of the bias tape I want to choose for this quilt. And the quilt is kind of distressed, so it's looking very older, so everything against it looks brand new, which generally makes me really, really confused, and I have a lot of thoughts about what color to choose. These are the fabrics which I actually decided, selected out of quite a few as my final selection to decide to. And my train of thoughts, these 2 I think gonna be my top choice because they kind of look very much the same kind of vibe, and they kind of look distressed, and they go with the, if you actually see the color of the flower, leaves of the flower over here, and this, they match exactly. And I think same thing kind of here, or even this one. So I think I'm gonna go with this specific color as far as the biasing goes. I'm gonna create my own bias tape, and yeah, that's gonna be the first time which I'm gonna have to make so much of the bias tape, because this blazer will require quite a lot of biasing here. So I don't know how's that gonna go yet, but I'm gonna do my best, and that's gonna be actually another learning experience for me, because I'm gonna learn something new again, and I'm very excited. So I'm gonna watch 1 or 2 videos how to make your own bias tape, and yeah, and then we're gonna bias everything, and we're gonna start from there.
At this point of the video, I already knew how bad everything is, and I said I'm not gonna give up. I'm just gonna keep on going, and I'm sure I can figure this out, and I'm sure I can make it work. And just making my own bias tape was another nail to the coffin for me, because I was already kind of sick of it, and I can tell from the video that I already, at this point of the video, I already knew how bad everything is. And they knew that the fabric doesn't stay in shape. I mean, the quilt doesn't stay in shape. So I probably, good idea would be to add a liner from from the brand new fabric, and try to cut out the whole shape of the jacket with the lining and attach it to every individual piece instead of doing the, they knew that the fabric doesn't stay in shape. I mean, the quilt doesn't stay in shape, regular style lining. So I can keep each piece of the quilt in shape. So I chose like a cotton checkered, beautiful checkered fabric, and I thought that's gonna be a good idea, and that will be helpful to just generally keep each piece which I cut out of the quilt in shape. And then I said, okay, I remember that exactly, that I said, do I want to keep going? Because now I have to make my own bias tape, because literally everything which I was planning to looks very new. And if I'm gonna use like specific colors which I was planning to use for the bias tape, and I was planning to make the bias tape from the very beginning, but then I didn't realize, when I saw the quilt and I saw the fabric for the bias tape which I purchased earlier, everything against this fabric, this quilt, make it more and more obvious that this quilt is very old. And it's fine, because I knew the quilt is old, but it made it look not right. But then I finally find this turquoise color, and I said, this is perfect. This actually complements this quilt. So I threw out the idea of other bias colors which I was planning to do, and I said, this turquoise color gonna actually work. It's gonna be just perfect for this quilt, and I love it, and it's gonna work out. And now I have to deal with this crumbling cottage cheese looking stuffing. So let me work around that, and I start to put the crumbles of the stuffing out before I attach the bias tape. And yeah, let's look what's gonna happen next. Alrighty, a few hours later, I created tons of bias tape. I don't know exactly how much I'm gonna need, but I rather have more than less and don't go back to this whole process again. So now I will look at the sewing directions. I also prepared a little bit surprise. I came up with my own idea to add something extra, something modern, something Martha to it, but I'm not gonna share it yet. I'm gonna tell you down the road what is that. And yeah, let's get started. Apparently, to the pattern, the first thing we need to do is bias the packet. So the pattern offers 3 different packets options, and you could choose the one which fits your style the most. I did, so I'm gonna put the bias around my packet. And at this point, before I'm gonna attach the bias tape, I realized that I'm gonna have to serge literally every piece around first, because I can't control this tiny lining crumbles to coming out, and I was spending tons of time before actually putting jacket together just to serge every single piece. So I'm gonna secure every single piece from the stuffy crumbles to prevent them from coming out, and making sure the edges are really nice and finished, because I'm gonna show you on the video here how it looked like, and I was not happy about that. Day number 3 of working with this quilt, and I hit another roadblock. So as you know, this is very old quilt, and I really struggled with making a jacket based on the fact how many holes it was in the quilt. So I have to go around it so I'm gonna be able to cut out all pieces for the jacket. But then I'm gonna start to put the jacket together, and what happened is, I think because it's very old quilt, I don't have that much experience, but it didn't basically stay in shape. So as you see, like, it's very like roundish somewhere, and it looks kind of like stretched in some spaces. So what I decided to do is to add a liner which fabric gonna stretch opposite direction in order to keep the quilt in shape, and it helped a lot. I'm gonna be also adding a bias tape, so the liner is done, and I attached it with a serger to each piece of the jacket, so it's gonna keep like this quilt kind of in shape. And I'm not sure if that's a right or wrong thing to do. I don't have that much experience in sewing yet, but it seems to be very logical to me to find a fabric which is new and strong and stretches the opposite direction that the quilt does in order to keep the whole jacket in shape. So that's what I did, and the next thing what I'm gonna do exactly same thing to sleeves before I'm gonna actually attach the sleeves. Finally got to the point, I'm sorry for the noise, my puppy tried to dig out the ball, but we finally back to the sleeves. So I created something which looks probably like an alien kind of sleeve. It's called exaggerated shoulder. And I was thinking, I saw it on the runway, and I wanted to add some spice to this traditional quilt jacket. So I decided to try, because I came up with idea how to do. I mean, probably the people did it, but what I'm saying is I couldn't find a pattern for it, so I came up with idea actually how to do it. So I want to create exaggerated shoulder on my blazer. So we will see if it's gonna work or not, because that's my measurements, my idea, and let's see if it's. Let me show you how the jacket looked like at the end when I mentally was drained with having more and more roadblocks, and that's the moment when I'm gonna put a stop to it. I also order already like fun closures, because I still had high hopes that I will finish this jacket for this video. So I think at this moment it's my stopping point, and before I'm gonna do any alterations to the jacket, because I think I can still save it, I'm going to take a break from it and do something different, do something fun. I mean, jacket was fun too, but maybe just change the pace a little bit and do something different than clothes. I'm sorry. And I will go get back to it at some point, because I really in love with this handmade quilt and hand-stitched quilt, and it's beautiful piece of art which I don't want to give up on it. So at some point I will get back to it when I have mental capacity to work on it again, and I will approach it with a fresh mind. For now, it's just a frustration process to me, and there is one roadblock after another roadblock, and I, as an artist, literally burned out making this jacket. And I think it doesn't look that terrible, but it's not to my standards. I wouldn't wear it myself yet, and I wouldn't sell it. So I have to fix it to the point that I will wear it, or I will be proud of it enough to sell it. So yeah, enjoy the video of 80% finished product, let me say this, and I hope you learned something. And I think my biggest lesson out of this whole experience is, yes, description says that there are holes, and yes, description says there are stains, but it doesn't, I didn't pay attention to the size or how often and how close to each other the stains are. And next time, before I'm gonna buy something this much distressed or stained, I'm gonna pay more attention to it. And yeah, basically that's it. And I'm learning as an artist how to not have my artistic temper tantrums and control my artistic temper tantrum. And when I slept on a jacket is fixable, but not now, not in the mental stage I am right now when I look at it. So stay tuned. I'm sure it's gonna pop up at some point in the future of my videos. Right now it's going on my to finish rack. And yeah, it was fun, it was learning experience, and that's it. No more sewing thoughts at this point. So thank you so much for watching. Not every video apparently will have a happy ending and beautiful final project. I hope you learned something from my experience. And again, just to put all my thoughts together, I think I did have sewing skills to do this project, especially that the pattern was straightforward and easy. I think it's just me not asking enough questions to eBay seller what really condition this quilt is. And well, I didn't spend tons of money on it, but well, it's still money is money, right? Yeah, and for now I'm not gonna toss the jacket. For now, I'm just gonna take a break from it, and I'm gonna hang it on my hanger of a project which still needs some love and adjustments, or I still didn't finish them on working on them, or on the hanger of projects which I'm gonna actually redo it and relove it and create something new out of it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I hope this video will be beneficial to you and you're gonna use it toward your experience or avoiding making some mistakes. And I will see you on the more positive note on the next video. And hey, if you have expensive taste like me and you want to keep your bank account happy as well, this is the right place for you. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week.